And what is being done to prevent this? My name is Maddie.
I'm Amelia.
I'm Esther.
And I'm Abby. And we're going to start with the basic question of what we think homelessness is.
I think homelessness is like not having somewhere to go. Even if you have like a hotel or a friend's house, it's still not really a home. I also think like when you like sign a contract to own something, I think that can also, if you don't have that. Yeah.
So it's sort of not what most people think is like homelessness is only rough sleeping.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's definitely not that, is it?
No.
Yeah. Should we talk about some more stereotypes of homelessness?
Definitely. Well, I think a lot of people think the reason people get on the streets, like specifically rough sleepers, is because of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
But it's probably not. I think they do it when they're on the streets as like some type of escape.
It's like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, but not.
But like there's mental health.
Yeah.
And like coming out of relationships, you've got nowhere to go.
Definitely. Especially like now, I think it's really hard to own a house.
Yeah.
Even pay rent because of the rising prices and things.
Yeah.
And when you look at the main cause of homelessness, it actually does come out to be, like statistically, it is the lack of affordable housing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also hard because, I mean, a lot of people do have people around them that would take them in, but a lot of people also don't. So I think people forget that, especially at the moment, it can be quite lonely. And if you have no one, you've got no support system. So you could be like, I don't know, the most normal person ever, but it could still happen to you because if you don't have anyone, and obviously with the climate and things, and like unemployment rising as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think education is one as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you don't end up with a certain education at the moment, it's hard to then
find a job.
and do anything with that.
Get the grades that you need and stuff.
And with how expensive university is.
Exactly.
If someone ends up going to university and they're like stuck in debt and they're having to pay that off, that can end up making it hard for people to even buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I'd like to introduce our guests from Framework, who have come from an organisation in Nottingham who help with rough sleepers and anyone struggling to find permanent housing. Hi Andy, it's nice to meet you. The first question I've got is, what do you feel the most common misconception about rough sleepers are?
Thanks for having me, first of all.
problem.
Pleasure to be here. So for that question, I spoke with Jack, who's the team leader of our street outreach team in Nottingham. And he thought that the most common misconception about rough sleepers is around substance misuse, alcohol and drugs, and that a lot of people think that is the main cause of their homelessness. And whilst we do see a lot of people that are sleeping rough on the streets using substances, it's quite rare that is the single individual cause for their homelessness. People become homeless for a variety of different reasons. It could be a family breakdown, family circumstances might cause somebody to leave home, loss of a partner, the breakdown in the relationship or a death. You could lose your job, get made redundant. We even see people that are working, evidence of people who have jobs but can't afford to pay their rent, and so they may be forced to either use a night shelter or even worse, to sleep rough. So that's quite a common misconception around substance use, and certainly substances are used by rough sleepers quite often to medicate themselves in really terrible circumstances that they have to live in.
Yeah.
What experiences do you hear the most about rough sleepers?
Certainly just wanting to be noticed and respected and treated with the same sort of respect and kindness that you would offer to anybody, really. There's the word invisible comes up a lot. And so, and I think it is, that case, because, we've all experienced it where you will be walking past a place and you maybe know that place you're going to be asked for money by somebody, but certainly it doesn't cost anything just to say hi and to ask somebody how they are. So I think that's, something that we can all do.
That's really interesting, actually. Yeah. You don't really, I think a lot of people they almost forget that it's an issue because you see it so often now.
Yeah, if anybody really, is in a position where they are on the streets and they're asking for money, they're doing it because they've got an urgent need for it.
Do you believe homelessness is increasing in Nottingham, and if so, why?
That is a very difficult question to answer. What I can say is that on our last count of rough sleepers, which is obviously just the tip of the iceberg in homelessness, it's the bit that you see.
Yeah.
In January, every day we go out and we look for people that sleep in rough, but we do once a month we do a street count, and that feeds into the national figures for rough sleepers. And we found more, I think it was 42 or 44, so I'll say more than 40, and about 21 people who were also in SWEP, the severe weather emergency accommodation, about 21 people in those circumstances. So I would also say we are seeing increasing numbers of people, and I was reading this morning actually in the Emmanuel House. There was an article about the shelter, and they were observing people who are working, who are actually sleeping in the night shelter there, and who are then getting up early to go and do their work shift. And so we're also seeing evidence of that in Framework, of different types of people.
Yeah.
We also, and again, this is anecdotal, there's some really good research done in Manchester. They discovered a really high percentage of people that sleep rough have suffered some form of childhood abuse and childhood trauma,
Yeah.
and that is something that we quite commonly see in people who are sleeping rough. We need to maybe not just find people housing, but also refer them to support for mental health problems that they might have, or physical health problems, and so on.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Especially with, obviously, if there's an increase in people who are struggling with things in their childhood, then obviously later in life there's going to be an increase in people who then might be experiencing homelessness.
What have you learnt from working at Framework?
Me personally, so I work in the fundraising and communications team, and I'm a project manager in the team, but you end up doing lots of different jobs.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. So, I mean, you learn something every day, and you particularly learn about homelessness by coming into contact with people that have experienced it, and also the people that do the work out there on the front line. So I've certainly learned that, and that is it's a continual learning curve. It never stops. Framework's a really large organisation. We've got more than 1,300 staff and more than 100 volunteers at any one time. And also the picture is continually changing. You know, the services that we deliver are continually being recommissioned and evolving to better suit people's needs. So it is a continual learning curve, really. The work that we do not work in isolation. We work in partnership. We work in partnership with the local council, with other charities, with the police, the probation services, and of course with the NHS as well, to deliver the work that we do.
Wow. My final question, sort of just wondering, is there's a phone box in Hockley.
There is,
and then we've done a bit of research on it, and then found out that it was Framework has also been part of like helping to create that. We wonder if you could tell us more about it and what sort of like the movement is.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about it because I'm in the part of the team that has got the phone box off the ground, if you like, for want of a better phrase. So Framework, we now own the phone box, as it were. And it's being used as a source of information for anybody that might need any help, anyone who's sleeping rough. So if you get to the phone box, it's up in Hockley. At the top of Hockley, you can find out where the local food sources are the soup kitchens, where you can get shelter and hopefully other useful information as well for people. And you can donate to Framework as well. There's a QR code on there where people can donate if they'd like to.
Thank you to Andy for joining us today. It was great to hear more about what you do at Framework. That's it for today's episode. Goodbye.